listen to this song in the gym sometimes. I don't know if that just means I'm psychotic or what, but kicking things off, we have a Bolton V with a miscut. You can see this is pretty severely shifted to the right, exposing a lot more of the left side of the card, but I do not see an alignment dot, so I think we can probably still call this off-center, as weird as that is. Not much pricing information. It looks like we only have the pricing for a raw card here for the non-error version, which is good enough to calculate our error value increase. This card sold for $49.97, with an average non-error price of $2.08. That gives us a 2,302% error value increase, and that is good enough for number 9 this week on our list of EVI. Alright, I was playing a game, how much can you confuse a new viewer, and I think I just won the game. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matt. I do a weekly series where I talk about the most interesting error Pokemon cards sales that I have seen on eBay and also other platforms, and I like to rank them, and I like to have fun. Some people seem to enjoy them, so I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Next up, we have a base set Blastoise with a Holo Bleed. Now, this one got a PSA 9. Ooh, that's a good grade. Shout out to my boy, Rookie Bob. You've been on this channel quite a bit before, and I may have already reached out to you on eBay. So if you're seeing this, welcome. And yeah, $700 for a Pokemon card. You see, non-error price is around $365, so EVI is 92%. That's pretty good when you consider how much extra value this is actually adding. What would that be? $330 of value due to the error. And also, this card just looks so cool. So yeah, not much more to say about it, but awesome card and a very high sale this week. Next up, we have an Empoleon from Diamond and Pearl. And this one is an incorrect... what would that be called? So this, it should say Poke Power, but this says Poke Body, and in the description here, so this is a repeating error. I was able to find this on one of these sites, and basically in early print runs, this was incorrectly stated, and so it was fixed for the tin promos. I am not sure which one is more rare. I would assume Poke Body, but let me know in the comments. Yeah, and the CGC7, clearly not a very valuable card. Maybe this was a fluke and it's supposed to be worth way more. I don't think so, though, especially if you're looking at the... Oh, geez, actually. If you get this sucker in a PSA 10 or a BGS 10, you're looking at a couple $1,000s. So maybe this was a very cheap card. I don't know. No, it looks like a significant jump from 9.5 to 10. Okay, sorry, sometimes I just look at this data for the first time even though I put together the graphics. So yes, very cool card, and this is a repeating error, and actually this has a negative error value increase. So let's just say that the buyer got a good deal on this one. Next up, I believe we have a couple double holo variants coming at you. So we have a PSA 8 Ho-Oh double holo variant, and with this one, look at the tail feathers. That's how you can really tell this is a double holo. Tail feathers are really kind of getting swallowed up by that holo. This one sold for around $370 this week for a PSA 8. Ooh, one of my favorite cards. Here we have a Shining Gyarados double holo variant, and this one, boy, I think the best way to tell, it just looks like there's more holo there. It's darker and it looks like there's more holo. And this one was listed for $795, and someone paid that exact amount. And yeah, this is a PSA 7. This is an awesome card. Next up, we have a first edition Ivy Pikachu that got graded a CGC 6. So if you are unfamiliar with this error, essentially that first edition stamp should not be there. So yeah, that first edition stamp should not be there, and these cards usually go for, I would say, a pretty penny. $455 was the highest bid for this. There was 28 bidders, and for a CGC 6 non-holo vintage card, I'd say that's pretty good. You can see average non-error price, so the Pikachu without the first edition stamp goes for around $12, and that makes the error value increase 3,692%. And boy, that's good enough for number 3 this week on our list of EVI. I wanted to try that. I wanted to try that to see what it sounded like. Next up, we have a Stoutland V with a side miscut. I do not see... Okay, so I see an alignment dot on the bottom left corner if you look above me here of the card. Sorry, bottom right corner. And it looks like you can see a decent portion of another card there. You can see the line that was dividing the two cards. And it looks a little wonky too. And I feel like this should have sold for more. I don't know. I know my knowledge of modern Pokemon cards isn't the best, but I feel like this could have gone for more, especially with my knowledge of errors. Not to sound too arrogant, but yeah, this one sold for $9.50 in auction this week. Next up, we have a Haunter from Fossil Set, and this is the Mirror Holo error. This is called the Matte Holo error in the description. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that gets the point across. And this card doesn't look to be in the best shape. I think that kind of explains why it sold for the amount it did. I think it was, like, honestly listed for the perfect amount. $50 seems spot on. And yeah, someone happily paid that for this awesome card. EVI of 400%. Pretty, I'd say that's pretty standard, especially for mirror holos, and maybe even a little bit high. So yeah, congrats to the seller on this one. So next up, we have a first edition Butterfree from Jungle Set with the D error. You can see the first edition symbol there. It looks like a D because of a printer hickey that was perfectly placed there. And this one got graded a PSA 9. And you would think that's pretty high. This should go for a good amount. No, $32. That is really not that high of an amount. I know the EVI really is never too crazy for this, but I believe that this actually went for less than the non-error version. So yeah, I think this is a good reason and a good example as to why you should be posting your cards for a set price and see if people can, you know, just give a best offer price for that. Sometimes that will take a little bit longer, but I do think usually you get a higher price for that, unless it's a really crazy ticket item and people get emotionally invested in it. And yeah, you can actually see here, average error price for this. We have some of that data above me and below here. Looks like grade 9 usually goes for $70. So still not as high as I thought it would be, but someone got damn near a 50% discount on this card. So when you think of Shadowless Vulpix, you think of Blue Butt, don't you? You think of that tramp stamp and everything. That is not the case here. This is actually missing blue ink. Look at the weakness symbol on the bottom left portion of the card. And that is kind of smeared and missing a little bit. Now, for the life of me, I could not find another example of this, but I want to say that this is a repeating error. If you know more about error cards than I do, which is probably the case for most of you, because I don't know too much, I just like talking about them, please let me know in the comments. But yes, either way, this is a very unique error. The card looks like it's in great shape, and it was listed for $280, but has the best accepted offer price of $75. Average non-error price is around $2.80. That gives the EVI 2,588%. And that is good enough for number 7 this week on our list of error value increases. Boy, talking about first edition Jungle Butterfrees not selling for enough. Well, this one sold for enough for the both of them. This one sold for $300 for a PSA 10. I do not know the pop report for how many examples there are of this. Good lord, I think it's right there. Is there 33? No, that's the 33. Okay, I'm dumb. I'm not keeping that in the video. Yes, I don't know what the pop report is this, but this went for a stack of cash. 3 Benjamins, $300. And you can see the average error price for this is for PSA 10 is $258. So clearly the market is shifting up a little bit. And what do you know, I was right. This was listed as a set price and someone paid that. I think, again, you just have to have patience for this, and you could be beating the market averages for these. Not a crazy high EVI, but that is due to just, again, it's the difference between 150 and 300. So that is still, I would say, a solid increase for this error to add to this card. Next up, we have a Phoebus from Rapid Strike, and this is an edge of sheet miscut. Inferno Games always does such a good job listing these. They have that, the photos are just head on. It makes my job a lot easier, so thank you. And they always accurately describe their cards. So yes, this is a wonky card, and the top portion of the left there actually shows the edge of a sheet. So these usually go for I would say a good amount more than just a regular miscut, because if you think about the probability of having a full uncut sheet and having one be part of the edge, it's just not as likely as being more in the middle. So yeah, I think they listed it perfectly for $24.95. Someone happily paid that. The card looks like it's in great shape. We got 2 alignment dots and the edge of the sheet on both sides of the card. This card does not sell for a lot when it's not an error card. Usually goes for around 70 cents, and that gives the EVI 3,464%. And that is good enough for number 5 this week on our list of EVI. Next up, we have a not factory cut card. Oh god, I gotta update that. Okay. Yeah, next up we have a not factory cut card. So yeah, I believe this is Moltres and Articuno? I don't know. But either way, you can see that there's a couple different folds in the card here. So not in the best shape. I do think if this was in better shape, that's where you're looking like $500–600, especially for a NFC holo that has 2 different cards on it. I think that goes for a lot more. But this one was listed in auction, had 38 bidders, and had a best price of $217.50. Look at that, another Celebi. Here we have a first edition Celebi with the double holo variant, and this one got graded a PSA 9. So if you look at the description for the error here that I have on the bottom middle of the screen, it says the variants seem to be more rare to find in first editions, and so I think that was taken into consideration for this. So average non-error price for a PSA 9 for this card, non-error version, is around $360. This one sold for $2,500. I would say usually EVI is consistently between 100 and 200% for double holo variants. Might be slightly higher for first edition. I think once you get towards that higher grade and the population is lower, that's where you see the big jumps in the sale prices. So $2,500 for this Pokemon card in a PSA 9 double holo variant. I should mention too, to know how this is a double holo, you see more holo, that like string thing around Celebi's head is kind of swallowed by the holo, and also just circling Celebi, there's just more holo. It's a little bit darker, and I think it's a very cool look. $2,500. Dang. Alright, next up we have a Gengar from Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and this is the red dot error. This essentially looks like, so you can squint your eyes on the card way on the right, or look above me. These videos are in 4K, so feel free to maximize that quality and really get a good look at it. Looks like Gengar's got something in its teeth. I don't know if that's like a red pepper flake or something, but believe it or not, this is actually a repeating error. Very small, mind you, but it's in a very cool place, especially that contrast with the white there. And in a PSA 10, this one actually sold for less than the average non-error price. So the difference between like $25–30 between the two of them, but yeah, the sale price for this one was $879.47. I believe this is the first one in 25 weeks I have seen pop up in auction to talk about. Next up, we have a PSA 8 Lapras, first edition from Fossil Set, with that mirror holo finish. So again, with this, there are no stars, no sparklies. It's just a clear matte finish that I think is very cool to look at. I really don't know the backstory of this, but it sounds like all of the printings from Wizards of the Coast, different cards from different sets have this error, or they have the possibility to have this error. So in a PSA 8, this one sold for $380. And that's all I gotta say about that. Next up, we have a Tentacool with a square cut error. Now, this is not, I would say errors in general are pretty rare, but there are some that you just really don't see too often. And I would say a Wizards of the Coast card with a square corner is pretty darn rare. I can't really give you too much of a number for it, but that's just, yeah, take my inflection as how rare it is. So, you can see above me the back would be the bottom left corner, and if you're looking at the front of the card, it'd be the bottom right corner. One corner in the top right of the card on the front looks a little weird too, like it wasn't perfectly rounded, so clearly something happened during that cutting process. And yeah, not a crazy high sale price, you know, $9. Granted, EVI is pretty respectable, 838%, but one of my goals with this show is to show you the cool errors that I've never seen, the rare ones, also the really high sale price ones, and also the ones where people got an awesome deal. So I'm showing you everything here. This one sold for $9 this week. Next up, we have a Beckett 7.5 base set Charizard with the black dot error. So most notably with this error, you can see the black dot in the bottom of the card, and that's actually covering up a part of Nintendo. And along with this black dot, there's also a holo shift, meaning the holo foil in the art box is actually shifted up a little bit. And this is a repeating error. Now, one thing I have not seen though, that description, it says there's also a slight holo bleed. So I haven't really seen videos or people like showing this too close up, or like, you know, kind of showing it in the light to show that holo bleed. But I'm inclined to believe them because they were right about the first two things. So if you do have a black dot Charizard and you would like to send me a video of a slight holo bleed for it, that would be great. And yeah, this one, never a crazy high EVI. It seems like once you start getting to that high sale price, especially with any base set Charizard, you're not going to see a real big increase, except for maybe if there's like a holo bleed or a crazy holo shift. That's where you see, you know, astronomical prices. But EVI was 35%. I could not find a grade 7.5 to pin this against, so I put it grade 7. This was not going to crack the top 10 anyway, so I didn't think it made that big of a difference. $472.28. Next up, we have a PSA 10 Nintendo. Nope, PSA 10 Nintendo error with that's it. It's a PSA 10 Nintendo. So basically, with this on the bottom of the card, the third N is actually missing, and this is a repeating error. And I always like showing the PSA 10 versions of this error because it seems like several usually pop up every week, or, you know, or every month, and it's kind of fun to get to track the prices. I've seen as low as around $900 and as high as around $1,400, I think. So it's always kind of fun to see where it falls in the middle there. You see EVI is 256%. Average price for this PSA 10 is usually around $1,200, so the buyer got a little bit of a discount on this one. They got it for $1,030 this week. Next up, this one's a pretty crazy card, so I actually had to just do a little bit of research. I had to try to describe the card on Google to see what it was. And I was like, oh, there's mountains and there's lightning, and sure enough, Stormy Mountains popped up, so I was aware of what card it was, so I could get the non-error version. This is a crazy miscut, but I also noticed, look above me here, there's actually a crimp on the bottom there too. And I was like, boy, this should have gone for a lot more. And then I saw that the person who sold this has one rating, and so clearly they haven't been selling on eBay very long. They probably pulled this, or they found it, and they're like, oh, awesome, and they sold it for 15 bucks. You know what? That's awesome. I'm very happy for them. That's actually a very solid price for this card, but I think it could have went for a lot more. When you have a card that's literally cut in half, I included the full sleeve in the error card photo just to show you how it's sitting like halfway in the sleeve. And to have a crimp on top of that, and several alignment dots. I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I could see this going for maybe $40, $50, especially if it's either best accepted offer price or you had a little bit more hype around it. Maybe, well, actually, if you had better description for this card too, a better title. This was Pokemon Miscut Error card. I think it really is important to kind of put the right search terms for these cards. But despite all that, despite everything going against this Stormy Mountains card, this was number 10 this week with 1,415% for the EVI. Just kidding, I want to do this again. Here's a staple in the community. Here we have a base set Wartortle with the evolution box error. You take the big Wartortle, you shrink it down, and you put it in the stage 1 box there, and you get this repeating error evolution box Wartortle. And these usually sell for a lot more than the error version. And these usually sell for a lot more than the non-error version, I would say. Listed for $160, sold for $140 for a non-holo raw Pokemon card. And one thing I always find interesting to deep dive in, especially now that I've been seeing these cards for 25 weeks. Look above me, I actually have the average error price for this. You can see ungraded usually goes for $86, if I'm reading that correct. This one sold for $140, and I think the reason for that is you just look at people see it as an investment. So if they are going to get this graded, this card looks like it's in good shape. Look at the front, look at the back above me, and I bet they can get higher than a grade 7 at least. So if they are looking to make this a flip, I think they can get their money back. And we saw one, I don't know if this is good enough for PSA 10, but I think we saw PSA 10 last week or 2 weeks ago go for $3,000. So there's definitely some strategy behind some of these buyers, especially when they're willing to pay a higher price for them. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the error value increase. 6,206%. Now there have been weeks where Wartortle, the Evolution Box error, is actually number 1. That is not the case this week because we have more video to come here. But yes, this is good enough for number 2 this week on their list of EVI. Alright, next up we have a CGC 7.5-bit Blastoise from Plasma Blast, and this one has the copyright error. So I had to look a little bit to see what this actually was. I thought, maybe it's the illustrator or whatever, but obviously it says in the name. Bottom left portion of the card, the error card says 2012 Pokemon, but the correct version should say 2013. So really not too crazy of an error. I would imagine this is a pretty common repeating error. And this was listed for $50, but had a best accepted offer price of $28. Alright, next up we have a couple of cards here. Well, this and there's another listing too. But this is an NFC card, not factory cut, that basically has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think 16 cards in total on it. You don't see too much where they're including several cards of an uncut sheet together, and if you do, it's usually just pretty square cut, but to cut it like it's a jumbo card is interesting. I'm not saying it's wrong or right, who am I to say really, I don't do this, but the interesting part is this is part of a foil sheet, so basically the front side of the card is all complete foil, and the back is just a regular Pokemon card. So yeah, this is interesting, and this one sold in auction for $212.50. Now this one is from that exact same seller, and I had to do a little bit of digging. So if you know anything about error cards, you know acetone is a thing. And sometimes what people will do is they will use acetone to manipulate a card to make it look more like an error than it really is. And if you don't know too much about Pokemon cards, you might think, holy crap, look at this Wigglytuff. What the hell happened to it? Was that a printing error or something? No, it was just acetone that got rubbed on. Which is a shame. I'm not a big fan of damaging Pokemon cards, but when it's a no symbol error Pokemon card, this kind of rubs me the wrong way. So I did a little bit of digging into Wizards of the Coast 1999 and their eBay channel. And it looks like there have been several people talking about how they were not happy with the customer service from this person. So this isn't a drama channel. I always like just kind of showing positive, happy things, showing you the cool error cards that got sold. But clearly this seller is not too good with customer service. If you want to read one of the reviews, I think it's kind of funny. But also, I realized that under their About Us section, it says, I'm not a reseller, but unfortunately I have to sell off part of my collection, so make an offer with confidence. So this is on his actual eBay account, like the homepage of it. And so I reached out and I asked, hey, is this card part of your collection? Because you can reach out for certain sales. So he has not responded yet, but if he does say this is part of his personal collection, I am going to shame him. And if I get a response, I will put it in either an upcoming video or this video if it goes out. So yeah, unfortunately, this had 17 bids and sold for $117.50, but this is basically just acetone rubbed on the hollow portion of the card. Damn shame. Some people. Next up, we have a Screen Hollow Machamp. Now, this is a cool one. This is actually a repeating error. Look at the hollow portion on Machamp there. I always love when it's a perfect side-by-side of the error card, the non-error card. And the card on the right has, it's like rain. It's like screen. It's I think that's why they call it screen. Yeah, it's just a different texture on it, and I think it looks very unique, and it looks like it's not all the way through the card. It might be all the way through the holo box, and it's just the angle we're looking at it at, but either way, yeah, this is a repeating error, and this one sold for $90 this week. Had 1,000% for an EVI, but unfortunately was not in the top 10. And yeah, I would say this is one of the more unique repeating errors that you'll see. Thunderous. This is my first time hearing of this Pokemon. If you don't know me, I am more inclined towards vintage cards, but have learned a lot while kind of searching through eBay for this this show that I put on. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can. So this Thunderous has a miscut and an inverted back. Got graded by CGC, got a 7.5, and yeah, look at the back of this. So you got the Pokeball that is upside down, and it looks like clearly shifted to the right and down a little bit, and I believe that's an alignment dot in the top left corner of the card. So very unique, and definitely So very unique, and definitely helped it sell for more money than the non-error version. This sold for $64.91. Next up, we have a Shadowless Squirtle with the red diamond error. If you look under withdraw for the attack, this word that is prevent has a red dot or a red diamond over the V on it, and this is a repeating error, and this one's kind of a fun one. I've seen several pop up on eBay before where people are listing it as just a regular card and you see the red diamond error. So that's what gets me excited, is finding errors out in the wild. I think that's just it's part of my hobby. It's kind of what helps me get connected to Pokemon still at my old age. But yeah, this one sold for $44.44 and had a pretty solid EVI, 1170%, but again, not in the top 10 this week. Also, Millennium Rose, I am planning on reaching out to you too, or I will have reached out to you. If you are watching, hello. Next up, we have a Zamazenta V from Pokemon Celebrations, and this is a cut and crimp error. So, crimping is basically the process that takes place when you are closing cards into a pack, and there's a crimping machine that kind of seals the plastic. Sometimes that can get misaligned, and so the crimping machine will actually crimp onto the card. But sometimes it gets so misaligned where it actually cuts a portion of the card and then still leaves that crimp indentation. And you can see that is the case here because the top of the card has 2 square corners because it was chopped off by the crimping machine. And yeah, was listed for $50 and had a best accepted offer price of $35. And this is actually number 8 this week on the list of EVI, 2,314%. Next up, we have a cool Porygon promo card. This is a vintage card, a holo, and this is a repeating error. And this is actually one that I was not aware of. So it's cool. This card is actually sealed up, and it has the blue ink dot error. So that symbol in the top right, the energy symbol, is where the blue dot occurs. I think it's a little bit bigger. It looks about the same size actually above me if you just want to look there. So yeah, tiny little blue dot. This is a repeating error. I've actually seen several listed on eBay, and this is one, I think the first one I've actually seen sold in 25 weeks. But yeah, cool repeating error, and it's cool to see some people still have these sealed too. So it's kind of a double special, I would say. So yeah, this one sold for $65. Next up, we have a base set Blastoise with a stage error. Now, look at the top right portion of the card. You can see there is a word missing, and that word is stage. This is a repeating error, and this one sold for a good amount more than I thought. So this is a well enough known error where we actually have some pricing information for the error, and it says ungraded, this card can go, or averages, for $288. I do not think that is the case. Usually, I don't know if these cards are just in worse shape, but I've seen this card consistently sell for like $80 to maybe $200 max. I don't think it's worth as much as Press Charging is giving it credit for. But one thing I do have to say about this exact card that got sold, that's in good shape. You can tell because they busted out the black light for the back of the card. If you look above me here, I do not know grading too well, but I bet this card would grade for pretty high. And you can see the significant price jump from a PSA 8 to a PSA 9. And then, boy, I can only imagine what it went for if it got a perfect 10 with any of the grading companies. So yeah, I would say in general, price charting might be wrong for the average ungraded price for this, but I think this... Hey, Editing Matt here. I'm editing the video the next day. Camera cut out. So base set Blastoise sold for $295.95. And this next card, we have a base set Mewtwo with ink error, and is a repeating error. And if you look, there is ink on both sides of the holo on Mewtwo, and I think regular Matt can fill in the rest. Goodbye. That scared the crap out of me. I just looked at my monitor to see what I was looking like, and my screen was frozen. I thought, did I just film for 38 minutes and have it all frozen? But no, we're good. So yes, if you are familiar with the fossil error, if you're familiar with the Haunter error from Fossil Set, there's that blue ink going through the holo, and this one looks like it goes all the way through, so it's on the left side of Mewtwo and the right side of Mewtwo. And I did not verify this. I know this is a repeating error, but I don't know if the ink error is in the exact same spot for each card. Either way, awesome card, and it helped it sell for quite a bit more. This one sold for $125 this week, and the EVI was 644%. Alright, this next one is an error I've never seen, and I have a friend named Sam who is good in front of the camera, has a great voice, and I want to start a new segment where it's called Sam Finds the Error. So let's go to that. I have Sam in this ear. I can hear myself in this ear, and I'm going to see how he does to find the error for this Pokemon card. So let's, I'll critique him live as I'm watching him here.
So we're just gonna go for it, I think. Hopefully other noises.
Sam's a good friend, by the way. I gave him like no information before starting this, so he had set everything up himself.
So I have not actually looked at this yet, but as we all know, I'm an expert of Pokemon card analyzation.
That's right. Sam's actually an expert in Magic the Gathering cards.
Alright, so gotta figure out what's wrong with Mewtwo. Hopefully this pulls up well in the recording. We'll see what happens though. Can you see my... I think you can see my mouse in this, so...
He plays a lot of Pokemon Go,
yeah,
too.
But I'll figure out what's wrong here. So my first thought goes to, like, the foiling. I don't know if you would send me something wrong with the foiling because I can't actually see it, but like, these stick out to me a little bit, but those look intentional, so I don't think anything's wrong with the foiling there. Mewtwo is
Sam's very analytical too.
He is a psychic type. I think there's
been
a lot of
the steps here.
So 60 HP might actually be the truth. And I did know that he's 6'7" and 269 pounds. I saw that recently.
That's a freaking tank. 6'7", 270.
Number 10, level 53, retreat cost. Psychic in the first generation didn't have any resistance. Nothing was resistant to Psychic in the first generation. And he was only weak to Psychic.
Definitely overthinking this.
The centering looks fine. And
that's good. Check that.
Barrier and Psychic. I'm seeing like I don't think this would be the issue. I'm seeing a little bit of sort of perforation looking up there. I don't think that that's much of anything, but it's hard to.
That's not an error.
The M in Mewtwo here looks a little wonky. I don't know if that would be considered an error.
Stop the timer. Did I run a timer? I did, yeah.
Alright, I think that's my final guess. I hope I'm right.
Alright, so thank you to Sam. He has found the error and whatever time is on the screen here. And yeah, let's get back to me talking about the card. Alright, I hope he did it, so then this video makes sense. I have an arrow pointing it. So under barrier, the last time it says Mewtwo, so the last word there, it looks like there's a tiny little C in the capitalized M there. I do not believe this is a repeating error, but it's a very interesting one. Very tiny, but it's easy to see, which is sometimes nice for these errors. You can actually see the C over the M. One I've not seen before, and so yeah, this was listed for $125 and had a best accepted offer price of $80. Next up, we have a shadowless Vulpix with that blue butt error that I was referencing earlier when we had the other shadowless Vulpix. So there is blue on the butt of Vulpix. Very properly named error, I would say. This one, There is not data to say what the average error price is, but I've seen it enough where it's usually around $40 or $50, and so to get it for $7.50, that's a steal. Again, another reason why sometimes you should just list things out for the actual price it is, but hard to judge every situation. Sometimes people just want to make a quick sale, and so you definitely will sell this for quicker, but it might just be for a little bit less money. So yes, I would say buyer won this one. They got this for a steal for $7.50. Next up, we have a Superior V-Star with a miscut, but this is actually, I believe, an edge of sheet miscut. So one thing I'm a little confused on is why the front left portion of the card, where it's showing another portion of the card, that's hollow, but the back of the card is showing white. I don't know if that's just how modern hollow uncut sheets are, or whatever it is. So this is definitely an edge of sheet miscut though, which is awesome. And yeah, it looks like the card's in good shape. Centering top to bottom is pretty darn spot on. So that's why you only see one alignment dot on the top right of the card. Look above me, you can see that there is a ding in the top left portion of the card. And despite all of that, this one, I guess all of that, that's just one little thing. This is an awesome card, edge of sheet miscut for a holo. This one sold for $45, typically goes for $1.56, and that makes the EVI 2,785%. And that is good enough for number 8 this week on their list of EVI. Oh, that's number 6 this week on our list of EVI. Next up, we have an Eevee from Shiny Fates, and this is a very large ink error. You can see, well, if you can't see it, I need you to stop watching right now and go to the eye doctor, because this is a very significantly large ink error in the middle of the card and the bottom of the card. I don't know what causes this. It wouldn't be an obstruction, but something happened in the printing process where more black ink got added to the card than they meant to, and it got put away into a pack, and someone opened it, and here we are. This one sold for $44, had 5 bidders, and very unique card. Obviously never seen this one. I don't believe this would be a repeating error, and good solid EVI, 3,597%. That is good enough for number 4 this week on their list of EVI. Oh, so I don't have to say too much more about the stage error Blastoise because I talked about it already, but here's a PSA 8 version of it, and this one sold for $400 this week, which looks like it's damn near spot on for what it should sell for. If you look above me here, grade 8 usually goes for around $408. So they got an $8.72 discount on this card. Okay, here's a... Do I have time to talk about this? Yes, I do. I'm donating blood after this, so I just want to make sure I have enough time. Here we have a German Growlithe square cut miscut card with the back being Magic the Gathering. It just blows your mind. That is so cool. So I saw this on, oh, what is it called? So I don't know exactly how the transaction happened, not for this card, but for PWCC, I think recently got purchased by Fanatics, and I saw something on social media where they had like a lot of people out to either this is a rebrand party or something, or just a convention they're having, but clearly there's a lot of money being pumped into this rebrand that they have. All of that aside, this one-of-one unique card was sold for $8,100. And you will see this is actually has a very cool stamp on the back top of the card, and that is Dubsy. So Dubsy is one of the most world-renowned Pokemon collectors. How I first discovered him was when he sold the PSA 10 Illustrator card to Logan Paul for like $5 million. And after that, he was kind of on my radar and have been following for a while on Instagram. Does a great job, posts so many cool and unique cards, and he actually has a post on this. I will put that on the screen here. I'm planning on reaching out to him on Instagram to see if he'd like to watch this video, because clearly someone who has this kind of capital to throw around and likes different cool Pokemon cards. Maybe he'll like this show, I don't know. Fingers crossed. Dubsy, if you're watching, huge fan. Hello. So yeah, German, square cut, miscut, Magic the Gathering, CGC 8, one of a kind, incredible. Boy, EVI, 75,249%. Average non-error price, I did a grade 8 for a English Growlithe, which I think is pretty comparable. And yeah, this one sold for $8,100, and as I said already, 75,249% for the error value increase, which is obviously number 1 this week on our list of EVI. Alright, if you made it to the end of the video, I love you to death. My birthday is Sunday, which is fun, but I'm turning 29, so I really do feel like an old man. But thankful for everything in my life, thankful for you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great week, and I will see you for episode 26 next week. Goodbye.